All right, all right. What's up, everybody? It is Travis Hopson of PunchDrunkCritics.com, and I wanted to do something a little bit different here, which is share my thoughts on the Fantastic Four First Steps. It's not the sort of thing I normally do. Normally, when I do reviews on YouTube, I'm usually doing a recorded version of the reviews that I write every week. But I wanted to do this a couple weeks ago with Superman, but I never couldn't get around to it, couldn't find the time. But I wanted to do it now for Fantastic Four First Steps because I was really loving this movie, and I'm not afraid to say I was not expecting shit from this movie. If I'm perfectly honest, I really wasn't expecting anything from this because there have been so many failed attempts to get the Fantastic Four right. And I had little reason to think that this time would be successful. I mean, why would it? And I'll be honest, also, I just didn't think that doing a 1960s retro future take on the Fantastic Four was going to be something that was going to work. And I also didn't think audiences were going to be into it. Now, that still remains to be seen whether audiences are into it or not. But I know that I was. And I feel like the crowd at the screening that I attended last night were also into it. This is the kickoff of Marvel's Phase 6. And honestly, Marvel hasn't had a better kickoff to a phase in quite a while. A very, very long time. Let me share this real quick. Okay, here we go. I haven't had a kickoff this good in a very long time. The film was directed by Matt Shakman, and I probably should have had a little bit more faith based on the fact that he directed the film. He also wrote every episode of WandaVision, which, took a 1950s sitcom comedy tone and developed it into a superhero psychological thriller and mystery, which is, pretty incredible. And he kind of does the same thing here. He's using the same sort of nostalgia, retro vibe here. Now set in the 1960s, sort of utopian 1960s. We're talking like spaceships and rocket cars and wormholes, all that sort of stuff, like really lost in space style stuff here, which I think is fantastic and like nothing else we've seen from the Marvel Cinematic Universe before. And the film, which is under 2 hours in length, of course, it stars Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, Human Torch, and the Bears, even Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. And the movie jumps right in, man. We get this sort of like, I don't know, you get like this Ed Sullivan style TV show that the team is on. They're already famous. They've been superheroes for years, and the movie just jumps right in. We're introduced to the team, and they're world famous. They're celebrities. They're statesmen. They're politicians. They're TV stars. They're heartthrobs. They're everything. And I love that it just gets right into it. It assumes that we know enough about the Fantastic Four. We get like a glimpse at them going through space, and of course the cosmic radiation that gives them their powers, but it doesn't bog us down in it. It just takes off on its own. And we kind of get right into the story. We find out right away that Sue Storm is pregnant. I love the little FF branded pregnancy test that she has. I think that's just fantastic. We find out right away that she's pregnant, which, happy day, but also, what's that going to mean? Like, what's their kid going to be? Is he going to be a monster? Is he going to be a superhuman like them? What's he going to be? Maybe he'll be nothing, but wouldn't that be kind of scary in its own right? To be the only person in the family who doesn't have powers, that'd be just as scary. And I love that sort of anxiety that causes amongst Reed and Sue, who just don't know what they're going to be. They already got the whole worry about being parents, but you got this on top of it. And at this point, I was kind of feeling like, man, this really feels familiar. And of course, it feels familiar because it's kind of the same basic story as The Incredibles, which Brad Bird, who did The Incredibles, he used Fight the Fantastic Four as the formula for The Incredibles. So they feel very similar, and that's a good thing. because that movie's incredible, and I think this movie feels very much like The Incredibles, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing that it feels that way. Um, we see the arrival of Julia Garner as the Shala Ball version of the Silver Surfer. I was very concerned about how they're going to do the Silver Surfer, one of my favorite Marvel characters. I think she looks insanely cool, cooler than the one we got in the Rise of the Silver Surfer. Which Rise of the Silver Surfer, way Silver Surfer looked was the best thing about that movie. And I'm not one of those people that hates the Tim Story films from the early 2000s. I think they're fine for the era that they were in. Um, those movies were a hell of a lot better than that crappy 2015 movie that was so grim and dark and just lacking in any kind of spirit or anything. It was just awful. These movies have an abundance of spirit and kinetic energy and just kind of this. I'm trying to think of the right word. They're lighthearted and kind of kitschy and just really fun. And it feels that way the whole way through. Matt Shackman and he's got a bunch of writers on the film, which is a little bit of a problem tonally at times, but not really too much. But Shackman really goes for capturing the spirit of the comic books, which is adventurous and light and upbeat and spry and all these things, man. And I love that big part of that is that it's set in this, like I said, this retro future 1960s utopian style. It's in the 1960s, but it doesn't feel, you don't feel any racism. You don't, all the problems in the 1960s that we know about. You're not getting here. You're not getting all this stuff. It's like a global community of humanity coming together. Even before Galactus shows up and Silver Surfer show up, heralding the world's destruction. Like the world feels like one giant community, and I love that feeling. It doesn't feel like anything else in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's interesting that they still chose to use the female version, the Shala Ball version of Silver Surfer. I was curious to see how that was going to play out. It does lead to some like flirty stuff between her and Johnny Storm, which is, I assume, that will get picked up on in a future movie. Galactus looks incredible. Here's the thing about Galactus. If Galactus is going to show up in your movie, he's got to feel epic. And the arrival of Galactus feels like a game changer, like humongous and like a turning point for the MCU to have Galactus show. Galactus is appropriately not a villain. He shouldn't be depicted as a villain, in my opinion. He's a universal force of nature. He's not good or bad. He doesn't pick the planets to destroy because he hates somebody on that planet or somebody screwed him over or anything like that. He's got a hunger, and that's what he does. He devours things. He devours the planets that will sate his hunger. That's what he's there for. So he's not depicted as a villain, which I think is smart. Because that character is going to be important to the MCU for the long haul. As far as the performances go, I really loved even Moss-Bachrach as the Thing. I think he's amazing in this. CGI on Thing and his blocky exterior looks great, much better than the days of Michael Chiklis wearing that big orange suit, which looked awful. Let me take that back. It looked good for its time, but it looks better in this CGI. The face doesn't always seem like he's saying the right things all the time, and it's not as expressive as it could be. But the best part about that is even Moss-Bachrach is the star of The Bear, and if you can't be expressive on that show, you can't be in it. So he's very good at emoting as Ben Grimm anyway. Joseph Quinn is fine. He's never been my favorite actor. I think he's good for the role of Johnny Storm now. Johnny's, he's important to the team. Sometimes he can be sort of devalued a bit in the comics because he's not a big brain like Reed, and he's not like the linchpin like Sue, and he's not a powerhouse physically as Ben Grimm. But he's got the, I would say, the courage and the spirit that the other team, not that the other team members don't have it, but he's got that youthful spirit that the other ones sometimes lack. I think Vanessa Kirby is really, really great as Sue Storm. This is a movie that celebrates motherhood and the strength of being a mother. And if anything, it says that mothers are the most powerful creatures in the world, especially one who is looking after her child. That is a big component of this movie. Pedro Pascal is great as Reed Richards too. Um, I like how he always has this sort of nervous energy around him, and only gets worse as his child is about to be born. And even after his child is born, Reed is still out there, just kind of like he's always got some new problem that needs to be solved. And there's one scene where somebody tells me he's baby proofed the world because he's like figuring out all these, finding out where all these supervillains are, and he's like taking proactive steps to stop them. It's a lot of movie packed in here in under 2 hours. It's amazing that they're able to do what they're able to do. And I just gotta say, Fantastic Four: First Steps. I think it's the best Marvel movie since Deadpool and Wolverine. I know it doesn't seem like that long ago, but they've had a few movies since then, and I think they've all been decent. But Fantastic Four: First Steps, I think is the best one. And I'm excited to see it again, and I'm excited to see what people are going to think about it, because this movie is going to be crucial. Now, I don't know how long it can remain, with this kind of lighthearted tone. The ending of the movie kind of, teases the future. We already know they're going to be in Avengers Doomsday. We already know that. And when that happens, I don't think the tone is going to be quite so bright. And I wonder how this team is going to look then. I was worried about this movie the same way I was worried about Superman. These nostalgic golden age characters don't always translate to modern times. They just don't. James Gunn was able to get Superman right. And Matt Shakman has figured out a way to get Fantastic Four right. It's the first time they've been done the justice they deserve on the big screen. I'm happy to say that. So Fantastic Four: First Steps opens on July 25th. I will be talking to director Matt Shakman tomorrow for 7 News DC here in, obviously, Washington, D.C. I'll be posting that video at a later date here on YouTube and, of course, at punchdrunkcritics.com, but you can check it out. Probably on Friday. It's probably when they'll air it. So I hope you'll check that out. Leave your comments. Let 7 News DC know if you like it. And let me know if you dig the video too. And let me know if you dig this review. I appreciate you guys taking the time. It's 12 minutes. It's not that bad. Thanks, guys, for watching. I will see you again soon.